Hi everybody, I hope you're well. We're gonna now share this on tomorrow's group as well, because that's where it was supposed to be for, but we've got it running on both groups now simultaneously. So Paul's just going to share this. I'll be back in a second.
I understand that saying to me twice, thank you.
Okay, so
tomorrow... So I've just put a link there for the live event.
Okay, post it then. Post it.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I said.
That's what I'm trying to say to you.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So what you need to do is go to Dali Market. Share from here. And see if we share to that group before an hour's in.
But you'll remember of it, that's what I keep saying to you.
No, it's a group which is closed. Only tomorrow has access to it. We don't. So she needs to go back into hers and then set that up as a live video. I think that's what she's going to have to do. I don't know if it's going to work, so
Yeah.
and that would be awful if it doesn't. His solicitor did it. I don't know how he did it. But it is.
It should work.
So if you go to memories now, click on that now. If you bring that up as our Facebook Live.
Well, it says it's shared, so I should be able to get rid of that, shouldn't I?
Now go to memories and open another window again. Facebook. This is the notes there. This is Arthur. Please go on, please go on. Oh, you.
6 people watching it.
I know. I'm really sorry about that, guys. Hi, I'm back again. We just wanted to check it was on there. So I think it's all running well. If you could just comment and let us know that you can all see it and you can hear me. And I'm really looking forward to you all joining me. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the actual example. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to show you another example that actually inspired me to do this in the first place. So, my first example I'm going to show you is this one. So I'm going to, because I'm a little bit early, I'm going to start off with this example. I'm so excited that I don't know what to say. Yeah, I'm lost for words. I want to say firstly a very, very big thank you for Tamara and everybody who is on Memories Paper Art group to having me feature this and show you a project, and I hope you're going to enjoy it as much as I'm going to enjoy it. So this was my secret garden I did. This was a key holder, and this was done for a YouTube hop using the elements, paper and so forth. And I just wanted to show you, so this is sort of very, very 3D, so you can take it to this level and even do more. So you've got that, and then that special, which you all seem to be after, the little fairy door. So the fairy door sits just at the front like this, and so when you open it, you get this magical world of the secret garden and the dreams that sit behind it. So I'm going to share a project very similar to this, but using the Stamperia Hortensia, and how I did this. Okay, so I'm just going to put this aside, and I've left the door off because I haven't put it all together. So that's my first one. So what I'm going to be using today, am I a bit early still?
6 o'clock.
Yeah. Have we got a few people online?
7.
Okay. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to do the Hortensia version of it. Let me just put that towards the camera a little bit. There you go. So I haven't stuck the door on this one either, by the way, at the moment, because I just wanted to show you the workings behind it. So what we're going to be doing is you just need any reverse canvas. And to be honest with you, I use anything that I've used in demos, and I'm just going to use an A4 reverse canvas. It doesn't matter, but you do need something that's got a little bit of depth in it, because we're going to have the door in front of it. So, and then I've used this dome here, which comes from our Christmas baubles, and just a half of that. And then I've used the Hortensia papers and the die cuts. Then the fairy door will sit on top of that, and again you'll have that same illusion where you open it, and behind it sits Butterflies Come to Pretty Flowers. So you've got all of this, and it's really nice, and you can just glue gun this down, and if you're really feeling a little bit unsafe, just put a couple of screws from behind upwards. So today's project is going to be all about Hortensia and this fairy door, which you can see, and also this beautiful canvas which all sits together. So that's our project for today. Okay, so what have I actually used to create that? My main project pieces are the die cuts, and you get, I think you get 31 pieces in this one, and you get 45 pieces in this one, and you get the book. These are on a special, so if anybody wants to go and have a look at that, I know the links are on Tamara's website. They're also on our website, her Facebook. And I'll just show you the book if anybody's not seen the book. I'll also talk you through the 2 sheets I used for the project, because I'm going to use the same book but create a slightly different project. So you've got these beautiful pages where you've got my little fairy door out of the way, where you've got these beautiful tags. You've got these sheets there to make your toppers. Absolutely lovely book. It is so, so lovely. And you can just see each page tells a story. Okay, so you've got all of these. And this is one of the pages I used. This actually sits at the top so that you can see it. And I'm going to use the other half that I've got left. So if you have a look at the top of my picture here, this is actually the bottom of this page here. So that's what I use. So if you do want to follow if you want to use the same paper, I've used half of this. Okay. The next page I used was this bit, so the whole of this page, which is the bottom part of this. Okay. Today I'm going to use this page, and I'm going to use the bit I have left from this page. So if you want to use the same design as me, then use this page at the top, this bit at the bottom for the top, and use this page for the bottom. Whereas today I'm going to use this as my main focal, just to show you can get quite a lot out of this book and these die cuts. And then you've obviously still got all these tags, etc. Got all these little window toppers. There's just so much. And then you've got more die cut pieces at the back that you can fussy cut. So that is the book that I've used. So I've used the die cuts, the book. Then I've used the Crackle paste. I'll put them the right way around. The Crackle paste and the Crackle primer to do my fairy door. I've also used 3 colours. So you need a green, you need a purpley pink colour, and you need a blue. So these are also, with the texture spray, are on a special at the moment, which is a mixed media collection. I've also used a brown finishing wax. So we'll be recording this and be putting this onto YouTube as well so that you can see it. So we've done all of that. And then I'll be using other products within so that you can see that. But that's my main product. So not very many products. Just the Hortensia Pad. And so we can just see how we're going to get on with this. So you can just see how lovely this is. So you've got all of that. So that's what we're going to be creating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a start because it's going to take me a while to put it all together. So I'd like to just make a start on that. So the first thing you do that I find is easiest to do is to take your canvas and focus on the middle bit, because if you want to then look at what your composition is going to look like, and that's the fun part of it. So what you do is you take your book and you start flicking through it and you start to look what you think would look nice. And I thought this would look nice at that time as well, and I also think this looks nice. So I chose 2 parts, and I'm so frugal, I wanted to keep the parts that I chose. So what I've got is I've got this page. So if you are following me, I have got this page. And I thought, oh, this will fit really nicely in the back. So I'm going to work with this page and I'm going to use the bit that I've got left, and I'll show you how I do. So that's where I start. I think about what I am going to use as my main papers to tell my story. And then how am I going to build onto those papers? So that was really important to me. How is that going to look for me, and why am I doing that? So that's where I start. And then from there, I start to build up the story. So my next bit of the story was, I wanted to have, these are the baubles. They come as like this to us. We have just ordered some in. We've just sold out of most of them, so we haven't got any, but we have just ordered them in. But they are absolutely brilliant. I mean, they come in a couple of shapes, but this is my favourite. And what you do is you just break the top bit off. So you can either cut it off or break it off. Usually you can break it off. So I can't break it off today for some reason, but I'll leave it there for a moment. And that's going to become my focal bit. I'm sorry about the reflection from it. And within that, I'm going to build, I can either keep memories in there or a little bit above, and I'm going to build my composition around all of that. Now, when you get the bauble, there is a middle bit. So if you want to, and it makes it easier, rather than you keep going back and putting the bauble on and covering it off all the time, to get you started, what I do is I use this bit as my template just to position everything. So that's what we're going to do with that bit. Doesn't matter if you don't have that bit, it really doesn't. But if it helps you, then that helps you position it. So this is the dome. Then the next bit is I look at how I'm going to look at putting all the composition together. But prior to starting that, the rest of it, so those are the pages. You've got all your paints and everything hopefully out if you're following me. And then we're going to come back to that bit. And this is then, once we come back to this bit, we'll start using the die cuts, using a few other elements, and how we're going to build this up. But let's first do our canvas and our door. It's the most exciting bit, and then we'll come back to the middle. And what I usually do is I look at the papers and I try and find the colours which are the closest. So any of these colours will work. So you've got a few colours there that you can go with. and they're going to work. Okay, so that's very, very important, because without those colours we can't create that seamless finish. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint with the darkest colour. Okay, and we're going to do that on the fairy door. So this is the fairy door, so we can do it all in one step. We're going to do both of those elements together. Okay, so the fairy door comes like this. Now you can either get something similar to this from Hobbylicious, or I know Hobbycraft have something, but they have a slight design on there which you can cover up, and they're available there. So we don't stock them, unfortunately, because they are readily available on Hobbycraft and probably some other places as well, sometimes on eBay. So I haven't even bothered to take these bits off. I'm going to keep them as they are. So let's get started. So hopefully we've got a few people online, and we're going to get started. So as I mentioned, first thing to do is to take your darkest colour, whatever you've got. If it's a purple, a pink, a mauve, whatever colour you've got. So all the list of products is on the web, is on the description where Tamara's put the list on the Facebook. The products are available from Dali Art Market, but let's get on with this project. That's what it's about today. So best thing for me to do is I'm just going to take a little bit and just put it straight onto my mat, because that's where I'm going to use it from. And take a reasonably large brush. Don't worry, this doesn't have to be neat. So we want to cover up these staples, cover up the wooden bit, and just go in with those paints. So that's where we're starting. Okay, so hopefully you can see that and everything's clear. So we're just going to go around the frame, and we're going to do this on the fairy door as well. This is a little bit boring, but it's important we do this, because the idea here, the reason why I'm painting it, and you could have left it white, is when I start to put the white crackle on it, I'm going to not crackle all of it. And so you're going to see bits of this, which will also help with the colours in the pad to pull it through. Okay. And I love this technique. It's a simple technique, but it's something that it's like everything. You go back to basics nearly. And obviously I know a lot of crafters on the group are mainly, a lot of them, I should say, are paper crafters. So this is a great way to move into the next step of mixed media if you're a paper crafter, using paper. So, like I say, I'm not going to do the sides today, but obviously you would do the sides as well. So you could just paint them plain once you finished if you wanted to. So we're just going through that, just capturing all of that colour. So the idea here is we've got a little bit of coverage over that. I'm not going to do a second coat. Doesn't matter if you've got a few white bits. I do want to bring it a little bit into inside as well. Don't worry if you go on the canvas, really is not a problem. If you find it easier at this stage, you can lift your canvas and do like this from the inside. So you've got, it's a little bit easier to paint then. And again, I'm not too worried if I get great coverage or if I don't. And again, I'm just doing the inside here. So we're just carrying on with that. I'll put my thumb on it. And there we go. So let's put a little bit more down, my thumb there. And then just carry on with the painting inside. Okay. Thread from the canvas. So I'm just going to put that aside, and then now I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to cover all the door, front, back, bottom, all of it. Again, the paints are absolutely lovely. I'm not priming it, I'm not doing anything with it. just want to go through and just paint it. So just a nice coat of the same colour. So if yours is darker, don't worry about it. If it's lighter, don't worry about it. You need a reasonably dark colour to show through the cracks. So that's the whole idea. And if you wanted it, you could have it like the door I've done with the, oh thank you, with the Secret Garden. Paul's very kindly bought me a cup of tea. Thank you very much. So I've had a horrible tooth problem, which has been awful. I should ask the fairies, the tooth fairy really. She could bring me something. So all I'm doing is just going through this. So you can see at the moment it looks like nothing. It just looks like a pink door, a pink piece of canvas. But once we've started building on it, even on the locks, just make sure you don't obviously stick it in there. And I'm not taking too much care with this because we don't need it to be perfect. We're going to do a lot of layers on this. So it doesn't have to be totally perfect. And I'm not going to put as much colour on the front of the door because I want some of the other colours to show through. Okay, so I'm going to leave my door about here. So you can see I've left a little bit more white on, or more brown of the wood. Okay, so we also want to do the base. Just this bit I'm going to do. And I'm going to do the sides. Like I said, if anybody who's watching, if they need to get a door, they can get the doors from, I know Hobbylicious have very kindly said that they can provide the doors, or Hobbycraft have some as well. And they're really nice to work with. So, we've got this, again, I don't need to cover it all. Now I'm doing this door to match my piece of artwork. When I did my other door, I'll show you the other door. I did it to match my other artwork, which was like this. So this was more of a moss effect, and much darker. So that's a really nice technique as well. Done in a similar way, dark first, then lighter. Okay, and I'll show you. When you start to see how this works and how it comes together, you'll see that it's a very easy technique, and you can do it with whatever colour you choose. As long as you go with a dark colour first, yeah, and I always sort of work with about 3 colours, just a little bit more. Hopefully anybody who's following is keeping up. If you've got any questions, please post them and Paul will tell me what they are, hopefully. And I know Pip's online, so hello to Pip and my family, and everybody from Canada, and everybody on Tamara's group. Hello, ladies. I hope you're all enjoying this and you're sitting back with either your supper or your cup of tea or even your gin and tonics at this time, I suppose. A little bit early maybe for some, but do you know what? I'd join you.
You've got tea. Oh, what do you want?
I know. Well, I can't drink at the moment, unfortunately, because of my antibiotics. So, you know what? I don't know how that works. When you're in pain, why would you not be able to drink? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I've got a lovely cup of tea I've got to make do with. So again, I'm doing a good... I want to cover it. And the back of the door this time, again, I'm going to do a little bit more on the back of the door because I'm actually going to crackle that bit as well. So whereas on the front, I'm not doing any crackling on the door. You could if you wanted to. I'm just going to lift these bits in. It doesn't matter if you do miss something. It really doesn't. That's the beauty of mixed media. So a good coat of this paint all over. And you could prime it if you wanted to. Probably use less paint if you primed it, but it hasn't soaked it in too much, I have to say. So, there we go. So we're nearly there with our first coat. I know this is a bit boring, I do appreciate it, but without this step you're not going to get the next steps. So it's really important that we do this. I hope you're enjoying it because I'm just playing really. There we go. So let's use this bit of paint up, we might as well. So if you've left anything you can go back in again, just touch it up. It's not a lot, and it dries pretty quick. This is the Stamperia paint, so don't forget your edges. Again, I'm only going to do it a little bit, I don't want to cover it all. So can you see I'm just doing the edge now. Now you don't have to put a door on it, this is just an idea, because I like the 3D dimension of this. Also don't forget, if you've got a door, to paint this bit as well. Again, I don't need it to be perfect, but I do need it to be covered. And you're not going to see the bottom of it, but I might see it. And there's this bit here as well. And then you've got the inside rims to do as well. So that's how we're starting it. And you would start this, if you were doing a different colour, if you wanted a navy blue, you would start it off with a navy blue colours. So just use a dark colour to start with. Okay. I'm not doing it perfectly, but we can always come back and touch up anything that we're not happy with. So that's the door done, and that's also the canvas done. Now, we get a baby wipe. Okay, I'm just going to wipe this a little bit, just so that we're not going to get too messy in this little bit of our production already. There we go. There we are. Just a little bit tidy. That's not very tidy. So just make sure, just give this a quick blast. Okay, so we just want to get that dry because we're going to put the next layer of primer on it. Let's grab my piece of paper. And then we're going to take the Crackle primer. Now this is the primer, the universal primer. So all I'm going to do is just going to take that and really just do, it doesn't matter which direction. A lot of people ask us this, which direction should you do it in? We just want a thin coat. I am actually going to put it all over it, even though I'm not going to crackle all of it. It does dry transparent, so I'm not worried about that. Okay. So I'm just taking that all the way over the top. Okay. There we go. And we're going to do the same technique on the door, but I'm going to do one step. I'm going to do this one first, then I'm going to work on that one. So while this is drying, I'm going to work on the door. Okay. So I can just let that dry for a second, because it won't dry totally, but it'll be dry enough for us to work to the next bit. Okay, so that's that bit there. I'm just going to put that aside. Now I'm going to start on the door. So like I mentioned, I'm not doing the door on the front, so I'm not going to cover that bit, but I'm going to do the door everywhere else. It's good enough, it's dry enough for me, so it dries quite quickly, the paint. Again, we want to put a good coat onto the door itself. Doesn't matter if you get it on the actual door bit rather than the frame. So I'm just going to go in and just cover that. That's where I want my main part of my crackle to be. Okay, so you're just going to go around this. There's no right or wrong. There we go. If you want a little bit at the bottom to crack as well, so you can just take it. If you don't do it, it's not the end of the world either. So again, just a little bit there, a bit on the sides, a bit on the back here. I'm not going to see the back, so it's not such a problem. Right, now on the back, we want to paint it, crackle it all. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to leave it sort of at an angle because I don't want to put it down. And just paint up and down with the crackle primer. Okay. And again, you don't need a thick coat. I do find, I have to say, the Pentart Crackle paste is one of my favourites. I have to say, they do a lot of different crackle pastes and it's still my favourite. And I've used a lot in my time. So I'm just putting that on the top here. So like I say, the beauty of these products is that they are so easy to use and we shouldn't be afraid of them. And I know it's hard when you're first starting out, you know. I know what I'm like when I'm doing my cooking. I'm always like, you get your ingredients wrong. It's a bit hard to adjust that a little bit, but there's always a solution, as my mum says. So I'm going to leave that aside again to dry. So I've now finished, that's all I want to crackle today in terms of the primer. So the next thing I want to do is just bring in my heat gun again and just dry this so it's translucent. If anybody's got any questions, please do let me know, because that's quite important, so that I can answer those as well. So Paul, if there is anything, give us a shout.
No problem.
So this is the crackle paste, and what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to put it in the same, I'm going to put it thicker in some places and thinner in some places, and leave some places actually blank, because that's the look I want to go for, because I still want some of this purple, pink to show through. Okay, so all I'm doing is using a palette knife like you would be spreading butter and just putting that on. The thicker it will be, the thicker the lines, the thicker the cracks. The thinner it will be, the thinner the cracks. Now that's quite important, because a lot of people think it's the actual primer we put on that makes that difference, but it's not actually. It's actually this bit that makes that difference. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside now. Don't want it to be too thick because we might be here all day drying it. Okay, so I'll just put that aside. Then I'm going to go on to my door. First thing we need to do is just make sure we dry that a little bit, because it's a little bit wet still. Try not to get too close to the primer, like I do, because obviously it'll start to bubble. Okay, now you can let all this dry naturally. You will get a slightly different crackle if you do let it dry naturally. Again, we're going to do the same technique. We're going to take our palette knife. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker at the top, and then as I'm coming down, I'm going to make it a little bit thinner. Okay. And again, I'm not covering it all. It's important that you don't cover it all. It's natural to want to cover it all, and don't worry if you leave bits or if bits are different, just go with the flow. Okay, you can always take it all off, and then the palette knife makes it a lot easier. And if you wanted to, you could take all the locks off and do it slightly different. Okay, so that's the front bit. Just going to turn it around and do all the back as well while I'm at it, and then I'm going to stand it up. And again, I just like this look. I like it a lot, and I'm just going to do little bits at the bottom. Not a lot. I'm not going to see the back bit of it, but if you want to, you can put a little bit into these as well. Okay. Oops. Okay, and then just turn that over, and again I'm just using my palette knife like a bit of like putting butter on bread. Okay, oops. There we go. So, and I want to do the whole door as well, so I'm going to do the door. Do quite little crackles on it. And like, I love the fact that you don't have to go in one way. You can scrape bits, you can do bits, and there is no rights and wrongs. And that's what I like about this project, is that if you're just new to it, you can start to really get into this without actually trying to worry too much about anything. I'm just going to clean my palette knife. Easiest way for me to do it. Okay, I'm going to leave that standing to dry as well. Okay, we haven't got much more drying to do because I know that's the most boring part. So I'm just going to give a quick blast to this, and you can see it's already starting to crackle in places. Okay. You can see it going already. And obviously where it's thicker it's going to take a little bit longer, but can you see that already? It's already starting to crack. That's really beautiful. So I'm going to work on this, and then we'll come back to the door as well. So this is where we get to. So now it looks really white and it looks very, very pink as well. So, just wipe this a little bit. My father would be disappointed at the state of my palette knife. His is so spotless, it is unbelievable. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring some colour. Now the colours I'm going to use is a blue and a green. So all of this is on the website, so all on tomorrow's page, so have a look there. And all I'm going to do, I tend to stick to one brush, don't ask me why, but I do. Just wash it and get it. So put a little bit of your green down, put a little bit of your blue down. Maybe a good idea if you'd stirred them, Dali. But there we go. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to pick a little bit of the green up and we're just going to gently brush that over the top. Okay. So we're going to give it a nice coverage over the top. Not too much because we don't want it to make it all green, but just enough to cover some of this, to make it at least blend in more with our colours. Okay. If you feel at any point you've put too much in one place or anything, always keep a wet wipe or a baby wipe or whatever you feel comfortable, a tea cloth. So for example, I feel I've put too much down there, because once this dries you won't be able to lift it. So that's what you have to be careful of. Yeah. So once I've done that, so what I want to do now is I want to dry that a little bit. Okay, so you can see that it's building it's always about building the layers. So now we want to come in with a bit of this. Let me just wash my brush because it's got a lot of green on it still. Take that a little bit off, a little bit there. There we go. So now already in that corner it's starting to really blend already. So it's a really nice way to do it. So let's get some more of this blue. And I really like how this works with the green, the blue, and this brings all the colours in the book back again and really does age this project. And again, if you've got other papers that you want to work with, you can still do all these effects. And it's really, really nice. If you want to still keep a little bit of the colours showing, then you need to just take it back a little bit. And I really do like this effect. I think it works really well. It's really easy to do. And each time you do it, it will be different because the cracks will be different. And each time you'll see that it builds up differently as well. Okay. And if you feel you need to add more colour somewhere, then just go in and just add it. So I'm going to use a little bit of that blue inside, just to finish it off. A bit of that green as well. So, you don't have to worry too much about all the insides really. So I'm just doing that. I'm putting some on the edges. And the paper just sitting there, it doesn't look like it's just sitting there on its own. So I'm quite happy with the colours I've done now. I think that's good for me. What I need to now do is dry that. Right, now here's where I'm going to make it a bit more vintage. So you do need a baby wipe. I'm going to just use the one I've got. I don't need it that wet and I don't need it that much. I find that the finishing wax from Pentart works really well. I really love it and I think it works really, really nicely. Just going to use my palette knife to take a little bit out. I'm going to put that straight onto my mat. Take the edges off. And then all I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this in bits. And you will have seen Vasilis do this, you would have seen Antonis do it, probably a lot better than I'm going to do it, but you've probably seen this sort of technique. But this is what really gives you that aged effect that you get on all of these canvases. And I love this because it does really take it to the next level. And we're just going to take some of that away. So if you want it to be lighter, darker in places, then that's how you do it. So can you see I've already worked in this bit here. You can always add and remove. So I tend to do it rather than doing it all in one go. I mean, it will stay wet enough because it is wax. But I do love this effect. And I love the fact that I've got the bit of white still in there. I've still got the pink in there. And then I can bring this back if I want to make it really, really light. Or this is the brown wax, yeah. And I can bring this so that you've got this really nice aging effect. So you've got bits more coming out, you've got bits of darker. Now just look at that. It's totally giving it a different look to what it's like that. So here it doesn't really, it just looks like I've just blended a few colours. So this is actually where the magic actually happens. I'm going to put a little bit of brown into there. Okay, so I'm just going to work around this, doing that technique. And when you start to put the white splashes on at the end, you'll see that it then really does pick it up. A little bit more wax. You don't use very much, by the way. We do this in white, we do it in transparent. I use the white a lot as well because the white gives me really nice highlights, which you wouldn't, I find hard to do with something else. So again, just keep rubbing that in. And you know, it's a really nice way of using these waxes. And again, just remove back what you don't want. So if you want bits lighter, darker, and each time you do it, you'll get a feel for it, that what you like, what you don't like. You know, maybe you want it to be more rustic. Just go back in, less rustic, and just leave a little bit. So I just like each time I do that, of getting these little bits of shadow where I want them. And this is what the wax allows me to do, is to allow me to do these little bits of colour popping wherever I want to. And I can still go into it and keep doing that. And this is where I think the magic really happens for me. I mean, if you look at that, I don't know if you can see that corner there already, and you can see that effect. And that's because I've layered colour upon layer. Layered colour upon layer? I think that's right. Don't even know if that's English. So then all I'm doing is just that same technique all the time. So you can just see that we're just building this up. You know, I'll be so happy when we can do workshops again. I really miss people coming to the store. I miss the social side of it. I miss the drinking. I just miss people, I think. It'd be really nice. So you can just see that it really does work really, really well. So, you know, I find this is really easy to use, more so than some of the other products. Everybody's different. Everybody has their favourites. And as you know, I am a Pentart fan. And I do like this product. They work for me. You can use whatever you've got in your stock. You know, I don't know if shoe polish would work as well, but worth giving it a go. Won't smell as nice as this, I can assure you. This smells absolutely beautiful. So you can see how I'm getting on with that, and already I'm, you know, making loads of mess. But I think I've kept quite clean today. So, just carrying on with this. I mean, it doesn't dry out anyway, so you can go back in and buff it up. And then what you can do is eventually it will dry, so to be aware of that, and like all paints, they dry. So I just love this effect. And you know, I'm addicted to it, I have to be honest. Once I did it first, I just thought, oh, I've got to carry on doing this all the time. And that's the thing, you do like your, I can see why Antinous and Bacillus like these effects, because they do give it that aged look, which you can't create always otherwise. So I've done that, so I'm just going to pull a bit back. So can you see when I pull it back, it's just so nice. So it just is. I hope you can capture that on the camera. And you can just see all those different shades coming through. Again, you know, you can really make the colour come back to its, you know, really back if you want it to. You know, just to add little bits of light into your frame. So if you want to just bring in little bits, you can. And I quite like that I can bring some of it back and then leave some of it quite vintage. So that works quite well for me. I think even I'm entitled to a new baby wipe. So that's where I'm gonna leave that there for now, and then if I do want to rub any more off before it dries, I can do. But that's where I would that's how that bit works. So that's a technique that I really love and use. And it's the same technique I've done on the door as well, but I'll come back to the door. So I've already chosen my two papers, like I mentioned to you. And the two I've chosen were these two bits. That was a bit left over and that was the other bit. And all I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to tuck them in, because they'll sit in there. Now if you wanted to make this a bit more 3D without the door, you could. Yeah? So that gives you a little bit more of an idea of how that would look. Okay, so I'm just going to keep mine flat. And what I also want to do is, I also want to bring this bit in. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to feed, I can cut this bit off actually. You never know when I might need it. So, just going to cut that off so it's all level. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to tuck this one underneath as well. So now you've got a choice here. You can either keep that on top or you can put that on the bottom. So let's have a look what that would be like if it was the other way around. So it's not the easiest thing to do when you've got both the papers, but there we go. So you can have a look. But we're going to be covering most of this, so you're not going to see the join as much as you would otherwise. Okay, so we're just going to push you in. Okay, so I think I prefer it the other way myself, because it doesn't look like I've just stuck a piece of paper underneath it. And it will stop that line being so blunt when I've finished with it. Okay. I'm not worried it's not straight. I'm not really worried that much about it. Now at this stage you could glue these in if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave mine sort of free inside because it's fine for me. So you've got all this darkness on the edges, which with the splashes of white will really come through. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is start to build the middle up. And so what I do is I go through all my toppers. I've got loads of them still. I've got loads. And I start to build up and see what I think might look nice. So I'm going to pick up some of my toppers and see. So I want remember we've got what have I done with it? The round ball. Oh, here we are. I've got one over here. I know I want to sit this somewhere in the middle. Got fireworks going on again. Don't know why, but there we go. So I'm going to use this as my focal image. Okay. Now you could make it so that the time is right or whatever. So I'm actually going to just put it here, because that's how I want it to sit. And then I'm going to sit this one so that I know. So I've chosen this time as my focal image. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to build on top of this. So I've taken this piece of the die cut which matches this. I'm going to sit that in the middle. And I put my glue gun on. And then I want to start building these bits as well. So I wanted it to be 3D. Obviously, remember you're going to be working with the... I'm just going to try and see if these bits work for me. So, let's see. Would that look nice for me? I think I'm happy. So with the other one, I put a lot more flowers in. With this one, I'm putting less flowers in. So, again, you can build this up as much as you like. You can put whatever you like behind it. So I'm going to put this one slightly here. So we've got memories and we're dreaming big. I'm going to push these in so that they actually sit under the... So can you see how that's... It's hard to tell, I have to really tell you, because you've got all the reflection. But that's how it's all going to be going inside there. Now you can put other things in there, you can do more to it, you can put more butterflies in there, but I'm going to keep it like that. Now I can't seem to, let me get the scissors, because I couldn't break that today. Usually I find it really easy. I need my sister Pip here. She would have broken it. So I'm just going to cut it off. But it is probably the strongest one I've had. So I've just broken the top bit off the ball board because that way I don't have that bit sticking out the top. And you can file this bit down. So I'm going to start off with now starting to build this up. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to stick this as my focal bit because I know that's where I want this to go. Then I can start building around that. Now the best thing for you to do is to do all the edges first of these in a colour that you want to choose, that you want to use as your accent colour. So what I mean by that is I think I might go with the bit of blue because we've got less blue in there, but we can pop out some of the blue from them. So let's put a little bit of the blue paint. Oops, just going to do a little bit of a... So my brush is quite wet, so we only need a little bit. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over the edges. Okay, so all you're doing is taking a bit of it over the edges. So you're getting a... It's very, very subtle, but it is happening. And I like that because it means that we've got all the edges covered. We've also got consistency going on there with colour, and that will help it make it a little bit more, and also these won't look so rigid in your piece. So there we go. So that's just that one bit done. Then you do the same for all the bits that you've got, and I wanted to show you all of these steps. I mean, obviously we are recording it, so you can always come back to it. It will be on YouTube as well, on Shock Art Sisters, and tomorrow we'll definitely have a link to all this. So if you want to come back and do it at your own leisure, then you've got that. So I really like the way this blue comes in. Comes in, does its own thing. Okay. And obviously if you've got other bits you want to add, you can do that. You don't have to just add the die cuts. You might have a different pad. You could do this with a travel. You could do it with any of your papers that you've got. You could use rice paper in the background. It really is up to yourselves what you want to do. Okay, so you've got bits of those going on. Let me see if I can find a little butterfly as well. A little bit of a butterfly there. I'm going to give that a bit of a colour as well. So I'm just taking the edges on these and just doing them. It does make a difference. And just even also swish your brush onto it, because you don't want this all to be so stark. Okay. So let's start sticking this bit down first. So roughly I'm going to put that there. Sort of matches up with the other bits, and it's just going to go there. Now I'm not going to add any more height to this. You could do if you wanted to. I'm going to sit it into there. There we go. Next layer I'm going to put is that little Hortensia circle. All of these are in your die cuts. So I'm going to actually put it like that. Okay. And I'm going to put this bit here. And I just love the way this all builds. Obviously you've got so many die cuts, really go to town. I'm just using some of them, and I've already made a project using all the elements. And one of the things to be careful is you've got to put your circle down. So just make sure before you put your wings in and stick it down that you can actually fit it in. So that's fine for me. The height isn't too much. I'm not worried this is higher or anything like that. And then you can have the dream big here. So you can just see how this starts to really build up quite easily. Oops, using what you've got. See? And then you can add, obviously you can add things to this. You can add little gems to this. You can add, which what I'm going to be doing is adding the 3D pens. I forgot about those, they're over here. And so you can add those as well. So you've got this really nice composition that you're working on already there. So you can see how lovely that already looks. Now if you wanted to off-center it a bit to this, you could. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to have everything in the middle as well. Now that would obviously be hard for some people. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do the 3D until right at the end, because otherwise it's going to smudge. Right, so we've still got all this space that we've got to fill. Okay. Now you could even knock this back a bit more because I think it's quite dark at the moment. So we've also got my little basket that I've got. So again, do exactly the same technique. Bring your blue in and start to build this up. And this is really a nice way to build these projects up. I'd love to see if anybody's following and what you do make. Okay. If you want to raise them, obviously put something behind them. I'm just going to stick that there. Okay. Hopefully it's sticking. There we go. So that's that bit there. So we've got a little bit more going on in here as well. So I've still got all this gap at the top which we need to fill. So I'm going to look at some more of my die cuts. I'm just picking them up from this side. I like this one because it's quite big and it keeps this circular bit in as well. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take that, do exactly the same. So can you see how quickly it starts to build up? Once you know the die cuts, you could do this with the Arctic pad, you could do this with all your Christmas. This would make a lovely Christmas sort of shadow box effect. So again, just put a little bit of blue into that, so you've got that. And this will also help break up these lines that you've created. Okay, so we're just going to put that one there. So now you're getting a really nice composition. Okay, there we go. So again, that's all now fitting in really, really nicely. Again, take your birdie. We've got these beautiful birds. I had it on my other one as well. And just bring that in. There we go. And again, just going to have I think I'm going to have my bird just flying towards there. So just slowly and slowly build those up. And that way, there we go. You've got this really nice composition coming together. Put another butterfly in there. And just keep going at it until you're satisfied with it. Come back to it, do a little bit more. It's always hard to show you everything. Now you get loads and loads of tags in this. And what I thought was, I found this little window, and I'm just going to put my tag on top of that. Sort of like that. So again, I want to use the colours I've used already. I'm going to use a little bit of that blue. just speckle it on. Or whatever you call it, splodge it on, speckle it on. I'm going to use that blue again just to do all the edges. And it's a really nice way to actually make the windows behind the little framework. Okay, just keep doing that to all your pieces because it really does make a difference. I'm going to take a little bit of that green if it's still there. There we go. And then a little bit of that pink again, bring that in. And you can make this a bit more washy, you can make it a little bit more darker. It's up to you what you want to do. Okay. And again, it just brings all those colours in. And I just love the way these paints blend. And it's nearly like it's seamless. And I love the way, so if you have a look at that now, it's all in those colours. It's still a bit wet, but that's okay. I'll give that a little bit of a blast. Hopefully you're all enjoying this, and I haven't put you all to sleep just yet. So we're just going to put, I'm going to put my window, I think, about here. So let's put the tag down first, so I've got a good idea of where that's going. So again, it's closing up that joint I've done. Okay, there we go. So that's going to sit there. This is just going to cover the top bit here. So the tag works really well for this. Just put a little bit there and a little bit here. There we go. So a little bit of a butterfly in the window background. There we are. I'm quite happy with the way that's sitting. And on the other side we're going to have a little butterfly again. These are lovely because the die cuts do all the hard work for you. So if you find it difficult, or you're like me and doesn't want a fussy cut, then these are ideal to do that. So can you see already how lovely that is looking? So we're going to put a little bit of flossy bit just on the bottom of that window, just to give it a little bit more. No, it's not flossy, it's like little bits of no, like little tumbleweed, isn't it? So I want to put that down here, so I'm just going to add that in there. So there we go. Oops, I'm covering my gun in. And again, let's push that down. So we've got a little bit of that going on there. So you can see how this is all starting to build up into a little storyboard. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue to my little tumbleweed and a little pink. So it sort of breaks it. But you could do this like an Easter project as well, and put little bits of pieces in and all sorts. You know, these are just some ideas. Oops. And you start to sort of do a bit of a wash in the background as well. Not too dark, like a bit more blue actually. So we have to be careful that we're not going to make it so that it's too dark in the background. So what we're doing is very, very gently, not too hard. We want to break up some of this background as well, but not too much. So we don't want to take away from some of the beautiful bits that we've got, but what it will do is we'll add. Okay, so we've got to that bit. Now the next bit for us is to start to look at is this bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few bits to the sides as well. Now this is how this is sitting in here. Okay, so that's going to sit just like that on there. So that gives you an idea. But I'm not going to stick that down just yet. So what else have I got to do? So I want to sort of bring in, I'm just thinking whether I want to even bring anything else in, obviously not in orange, and see if there's anything else, because the door's going to go there. you know what? I think I might even just maybe just put a little bit of a leaf up there. These are the metal embellishments from Pentart. We have them on the website under Shock Art. They are absolutely beautiful. They are so strong, I'm not joking. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that on the top there. Just put a little bit of blue onto that. And a little bit of green, that's it. And so we've got a little bit of blue and a little bit of green going onto that. I don't know how I'm doing for time. And then, oh, okay, that's good. And then, there we go, and a little bit of that pink. Not too much, because we don't want to take away from it. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick that up to the top. So it just breaks that little corner up for me a little bit further. Okay, just use a little bit of your glue gun. And let's stick that one down. Be careful with metal always, because it can get hot. There we go. Just use the side of your palette knife. So I'm quite happy. Can you see how that's all working together now? Obviously at home you can do even more, you can do different things. So it gives you a little bit of an idea. If you wanted to bring more blue into this, you can still do that. Obviously don't muddy it like I'm doing there. So you've got that little bit there. So that gives you an idea of where we've got to so far. Now I'll show you the one I've done already. So we've got an idea of where we're going with this. So we're really, oops, got my cardigan caught in it, jumper. You can see that it's very, very similar. This just looks more whiter because I've added more white to this, but I'm still working on this. So once I've done that bit, you'll see that it actually comes out like this. So you can see I've done a very similar but different composition. Similar but different. Does that make sense? I don't know. I just don't know. Now if you wanted to put another sentiment in here, because it always looks nice when you put the sentiments in, then you can do. If you just want to put a little one down there, that's fine. I quite like this. Beauty is power. Beauty is power. Smile is its sword. I'm not sure about this. It's obviously a Stamperia thing, but very nice. So again, I'm picking up those paints again. So I'm putting that up here because I quite like the idea of that just being there, being daring. And again, and you know, you could put you could put words up there for more. You could add flowers in here of your own. You know, you could do whatever you want really. I just want it to look like this. So then what I'm doing is I'm going to fill in all of these bits with me. I've got steel blue and rose gold. These are the 3D. And hopefully I won't have I had an accident the other day with one, but hopefully today we are going to be okay. So I'm pick all bits of blue out and some of the blue flowers, and then I'm going to take the rose gold. This really does add dimension. Really easy to use. Really lovely. Just picking some out. I'm not going to pick every single one out because we'll be here all night. But having a look where I can put some more blue ones. And you can just see how this starts to sort of build up. You can come back in again, do a few more. Let's do a few here as well. Obviously, the more you do, the more 3D it becomes. And does make a difference. I'll show you once I've done a few in the pink, the rose gold, how much of a difference it actually makes. And it just gives it a slightly different finish, just enough to give it another level of 3D. This is just a very pretty project really. A bit grungy on the sides. Now you could make it less grungier if you wanted to. And I just love the way this all works together. This is so easy to do, but it really does add that dimension of 3D into your projects. And I like the fact that I can just go anywhere with it It's creating this really 3D effect. I'm doing this randomly now because obviously hydrangeas, and we've got all of this going on, and I will show you all of this when I pick it up, that how beautiful it actually looks when you do this and how much of a difference it actually makes to the composition. Yeah. Okay. And obviously I could carry on and I could do a few more. So let me just show you that very quickly. So can you see on those, I've just put those on and they're just popping, and you can just see all the different bits. Pull this bit of thread out from the, and you can see how that now is looking really 3D. So that's how you do the insides. And then what you do is you can take a little bit of white primer as well. And what I tend to do is that just helps lighten things up a little bit. So let's take all this little bit away. Oops, it is. So, you know, I'm happy with that. I mean, you can carry on and do more to it if you wanted to. I'm going to take a little bit of white, just put it on there. Just white primer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lighten up a little bit of it. And again, just using your baby wipe or your fingers, you can start to bring this down a little bit. Okay? And again, each time you do this, each time, you see how it repels against the wax as well. But what this does is, it sort of again gives you that another little bit of a dimension that you don't have otherwise. Okay? And it gives you a little bit more shadowing. And you're just building this up again. And what it's going to do is help again with that. And I just love the effects that you get each time you add another layer on, another bit on. It just makes it that bit more rustic. So you can see how that's coming along. So can you see there? It's just so beautiful. Now it looks quite stark at the moment, and once you start to add the splashes, you can see how this starts to come together. And I'm going to move on to the fairy door. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just do these splashes. And I'm just using that texture. And it is quite, I love this, because it leaves a 3D finish. It allows you to sort of have a little bit of control as well. I don't mind if it's too big or if it's small. I'm not too fussed about it or how it looks, because every time you do it, it will be different. So you have to hit it a little bit harder. If you find you've done a bit of a big blob and you don't want such big blobs, just go back in, just wipe it down. It's as easy as that. The good thing about this is it stays wet for a while. So what that means is, take those out as well, is that you can then still have a little bit of a playtime with it for removing it, whereas you couldn't otherwise. Okay. Oops, I seem to be splashing on everything at the moment. We'll have everything covered by the end of the day. So again, I was thinking if I tap this, it's probably easier. Okay. And again, you can obviously add as many splashes as you like. And what I tend to do is I tend to do it, come back to it, and then have a look. So that's the middle of your composition, really. I shouldn't really put that on there yet. But she's going to anyway, isn't she? Because that's Dali for you. So that would sit there like that. So that's already, I'm quite happy with that. So that's the middle of your, I suppose, your framework. And you could just leave it at that. You don't even need to put the dome on. And most of us got all of these things if you've already got the hortensia. And that will give you an idea of how that looks. And again, you can build more onto this, you can leave it, you can build less onto it, but that's how I did the middle piece. Now they're slightly different, obviously each time you do something it will be slightly different. This is slightly darker, this is slightly lighter, but it gives you an idea of where I started and where I've got to. Okay, so that's the middle bit. Now we're going to move on to our beautiful door, done in exactly the same way as the other bit. Okay, so, but we'll do it because I think it's nice for you to see it. Okay, let's get going. Where should we start? Get our door in. So our door's nice and dry. It's actually dried by itself. So can you see the cracks? Isn't that beautiful? It's quite warm in here, so it's dried. Absolutely gorgeous. Now we go back. We need our blue and mainly our blue and our green. So let's put a little bit of that on our mat. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of green, add a little bit of the same technique. So just come in, add a little bit of colour. If you've got too much colour like we've talked about, then just rub a bit of that out. Now you can make this quite a rustic door, you can make it very similar to what you've done on the background. It's really up to yourselves. Like I showed you earlier, we've got something which is slightly different. I mean, look how they start and look where they get to. You wouldn't think that was the same door, would you? No. So I've got like a little trio of doors going on now. So yeah, so I'm putting the green down like we've done before. And over the locks and stuff. So keep doing this and put the green into the door as well. And it just looks like you're just making a mess. That's what it looks like to me anyway. So you just carry on with this. Okay, I'm just going to do all the green first. If you wanted to make it more sort of secretive and green, you could do that as well. With darker colours, starting off with a green underneath to start off with. So again, all you're doing is that same technique. Okay, so we still got everybody, Paul, or have I put them all to sleep?
No, a couple of people nodded off, but it's still good, it's still busy.
So hopefully you're enjoying it as much as I have putting it together. We've got a few other surprises I'm sure tomorrow's going to be telling you about shortly. So, but you need to let us know what you want to see, and if there's something else, if you'd like me to do anything else, or if tomorrow would like me to do anything else, or if you've just had enough already. So all I'm doing is just putting a bit of that green colour on. Okay, so once you've done that, that's fine. Now I'm going to bring in a bit of that blue. And I like the way the colours mix. I like the fact that they work so well. You know, not colours that you would probably put together. So it's just really, really nice that you can do that. And each time I do this, I sometimes think, how did I do it last time? How did I get there? But it sort of works. So let's bring this blue into the door. It just makes it just so much fun to do something a little bit different, a little bit more daring. Very Dali. And you sort of start and you think, oh my God, her door looks totally different to what she's doing now. But eventually it comes together. How? I don't know. But we will see. Well, we hope so it will come together. So just little bits of colour. And again, you can use different colours. You can use slightly darker colours. You can use lighter colours. It really is up to you. What I say is use something that you like that you might want to use as a pop in your from your book. So I just really love this effect. I'm going to do this a little bit. So I'm really not overthinking any of this. Okay, so we've covered most of that now. I'm quite happy with that. So you can see, if you just leave it like this, it doesn't quite look right. Well, not to me anyway. So, and then we'll carry on with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to darken all of this again. We can add bits of white into it, onto the front of the door. And you can come in and do this, dry brush this in at the end as well. So we'll give that a quick blast. There we go. So then we go back to adding our wax again. Okay. So let's go back. Oh, actually I've got some out here already. And again, we're going to do that same technique as I've shown you. So if anybody missed it earlier, they'll get a chance to watch this again. And I love this technique. Okay, and then you're just going to go back and lift it out. So if you want it lifted out more, then we can go more. If you want it less, then we can go less. So I quite like that. I love that sort of colour that it's come out. So I'm going to leave that as it is. And again, you know, you can just have a play and hopefully you'll find what's right for you and what you like. You know, you might like it quite dark. You might want it to be sort of in the woods or something. So, you know, go back, play with it and just have a look. And I just love that effect. Just think it's so beautiful. And it's just so different. That's just with the brown Pentart wax. So let's get some more out. Like I said, you don't need a lot. Whoops, you don't need a lot. And we're just going to build that up. And again, you know, you can put whatever you like onto this. And pull that back a bit. If you want more pink to show, you can have more pink showing. If you want more lighter bits. And again, you're getting this really lovely effect that's going on this bit of, on the fairy door. So let's keep going. And even on the brackets, we want to, you know, if we're aging it, we have to age all of it. Otherwise it looks a little bit random. Oops. So I'm just going to take that to the bottom, take that up, and again, just a little bit in here. Just do what you feel is right for you. And each time you look at it, you'll see there's bits that you like more, there's bits you like less. And each time you do it, it will be different. But you know, if you look at that, and then you look at that, you might like that. You might not want to age it. But I'm aging. Maybe if that was for a little princess's house, that would actually work really well. So I think that's the difference. So I'm going to carry on with this. And do the door as well. And I really love the way this all, whoops, I'm lifted so much on my fingers. Again, this how this works. I'm not covering it all, covering bits of it. I just like that look that it gives me. But it ages it enough, but not too much. And we can still go in with colour and change it. So you can just see how that's becoming a really oldie worldy little piece now. There we go. So just going in, just adding bits to this, making it a little bit more aged. Leave the back bit there. There we go. So, oops, got a stringy bit there. And then I'm just taking off just a little bit on the bottom. And even with the bit that's on there, will give you a little bit of coverage for the bits that you don't want it. So it's just about the shading of how you want to shade it as well. So, you know, you might want to shade it differently, you might want to do more darker, you might want more, you know, if we didn't do that as thick, you could have more pink through it. So we're still working on this, so there we go. So I'm going to do the back as well, because I obviously do want them matching. So let's put loads on there. So probably can use a lot of that and just take it off. There we go. And then you can just come in, really bring the bits out that you want out, and leave the other bits, and see how quickly that starts to change. There we are. Get another baby wipe. I've got a bit more idea of what's going on then. Okay, so you can see already I've managed to get some of that more off. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, I don't want it to be as dark as it is on the outside, so I'm just going to take my baby wipe and just do a little rub rather than a big rub like I've done on the front. Okay, this way I get to use all my wax as well. Okay, because I don't want this to be as dark as it is on the outside. So all I'm doing is I'm using that old baby wipe that I've got with lots of bits on it, and just using that just to make this white, the starkness go away. I don't need to do it too much. Okay, let's take a little bit more. I love this stuff. It must be very hot in here, because it's starting to even melt my wax. So let's take a little bit more here. Let's put a little bit here. A bit more here, because it's a bit more lighter. And I just love how that comes together. You see? So you can just see how that already is coming together. It's darker on the front, it's lighter on the back. So again, you can still go in, take little bits of shadowing off if you want. Take a bit off here. So you've got a little bit more. Now, the door still looks like it needs finishing. So what we need to now do is add a little bit of white primer to this as well, like a dry brush effect. So we want to bring in a little bit of primer. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start dry brushing a little bit of the door as well. Now, and all this does is just takes away from, see, it's starting to have another life again. So, and I really like that look. And again, you know, we want to sort of bring in a little bit. So it just adds a little bit more drama to your work. So all you're doing is just taking your brush. Again, more texture creating. And you can see how this is all coming together. And how the door becomes alive, really, I suppose, in a way. So obviously you would do all the edges, you would do, you know, you would really go to town on this. I'm just giving you some examples of how that would look. A little bit more of the white. This is sort of like, I suppose in a way, it's making it more realistic. Okay. So again, I want to sort of bring that in, bring in a little bit more. And you're just getting a little bit of an edge as well. And I quite like that. So just dry brushing that over the top, sort of giving it a little bit more dimension as well again. So you can see how that's all coming together. See that door? So if you wanted to make it a little bit more greener, because you've got more green on the edges, you could obviously go in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more green to my door at the front. Don't ever be afraid, and just go in and just pick out a bit more green in there, so that it actually matches a bit more at the top of the door than the framework. And you can always go in, nothing's set in stone when you do this. So now can you see how that's pulled that green in, whereas we didn't have that green before? And you can see how that door's already. Now you could have crackled this door just on these bits, and that would give you another effect, which is what I did on that one. And then you can still go in with your lightning highlights so that your door still pops a little bit. You still want that pop in it. And I really like the way this works. Okay. And I love this, that it all blends, it all sort of goes somewhere. And we've got this really nice effect. So even like you could even go in and shadow it even more. So you've got a bit of light coming in, say that side. So you could do that as well. So I quite like that. Yeah. A bit on this side. Again, every time you do it, you'll find something different. I do every time I do something. So can you see how that's now transformed that door? And obviously what you can now do is decorate that door a little bit. So you could put a little bit of grass down here. Let's put a little bit in so that we can just show you. There we go. So you've got a little bit of grass going on there. We can also put a little butterfly at the top of our door. So I've got this bit lying around, so I'm going to colour that so that fits in. So the best way for me to do that is to take all the colours I've got and just bring those in. Really easy to do. So you know, to create something is so easy. This is one of the Stamperia dies. So was the bird one actually, and I use this a lot because it gives me that foliage I'm looking for. So again, you can just create this to match our door, and it just gives us something a little bit different. I'm getting a little bit of that pink. So I'm not changing it much, but it gives us an idea. So put this lid back on there before it goes somewhere. So we've got that bit. See how I've transformed that so easily, and it is so easy to transform just with a bit of acrylic paint. Take that, just transform the bits that you've got, and then just add those on. So you can add that on. So let's have a look how this would look. This is just a bit of foam I've cut this on actually. So we could have that, and it looks really, really pretty. Obviously what we have to be careful of is that the door can still open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip mine off at this point, okay, and I'm going to use that to put that there. So really nice, but it really adds a little bit more character to my. So it was just lying around, and I thought, oh, what can I do with this? As you do, and that just adds a little bit more panache. I need a little bit of blue into this. Just take a little bit of blue, and you can always go back and highlight things. It's not a problem. You know, never be afraid to go back to your project the next day and make some changes. So we're going to put that onto the top there. There we go. And again, so like you probably want to snip this bit out of here now. So make it same round. I love this die, I really do. And you can just stick that at the bottom. Oops, this wants to fall over. And then just stick that down. Obviously you want to make sure that everything can open. There we go. There we are. So again, don't need to do a lot, and then you can come back and you can use your, do you know, I'm going to use the blue. I love the blue. And you can just come back and use the 3D pen again. Bring in all of these. So, you know, you really can make this your own, however you want to. This is just an example of how I've done it. But you'll have lots of your own ideas. Again, let's put a little bit onto this because I want to keep that in there. And then that magic that happens where you splash. Let's put the lids on those, put that into the water. Where's my texture? Oh, here we are, my texture spray. And then we're going to start to splash. You could bring a bit more blue into this. You could change it a little bit more. You could crackle it differently. Each time you do it, it will look different. Okay? So but by putting these splashes, you're already going to change the look of this. That's what makes it, I think, so special. Yeah? Do that tapping a bit closer. And I really like that, the way it comes out. And then, if you wanted to, I could have left that till the end. If you want to, you can put another image. Say, for example, let me see if I've got another one here. You could put the girl in here, like I've done on my door. So that looks really pretty. Yeah? So you've got that. You could use one of your tags and put that on the inside. It'll all work because it's all with the same colour palette. You could even put just a tag. So you could do whatever you want on that bit. I'm not going to do anything with it because it's still all very wet. And then that becomes your little fairy door. I think I need a little bit more blue. I feel. I'll do it with my finger because I feel I still need a little bit of blue. Obviously I would fiddle around with this a bit more. Okay. Just bring a little bit more blue into this. Okay. And you can keep going. Maybe use a cotton bud, that would be easier than your fingers. But you know, Dali is Dali. So I hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you and that it's all looking like it's okay. So, oops, I'm just going to put my finger through that. Oh, thank you everybody. So that would then go on the front of my little door there. So can you see how different you can make something using the same techniques each time? Never comes out the same. I've used slightly different embellishments. Then the door opens. There we go. And behind there, this will be sat up a bit. You'll get this beautiful Dream Big. Yeah? And then you can have, like I said, you could have the lady there. So that brings that all in together. And it just looks so pretty. I hope you've enjoyed what I've done for you today. It's given you a little bit of inspiration. It's given you something to look at. Something a little bit different. Maybe just even if you take one thing away from this, then that would be great for me. I've done my job, as they say. So you got that one. Then we had our original one. As I say, they never turn out quite the same. So there's our original one. So you open the door, and there it is inside. That's that one. Better put that down. And then I did a slightly different one for another project, which inspired me to do this one actually with the Hortensia. And this was this one, which is for my YouTube hop. You can see this on Shock Art Sisters. And it's the YouTube hop. And Pip also did one, slightly different to mine, all about babies actually. And then I've got the door here, which is much more rustic. This is a much more, so you've got all the pretty colours behind, and the idea was that the door was more of a secret garden rustic feel to it. and I've used the light, the moss effect that you get, the 3 colours. So that's what covered this door. So if you want that sort of thing, then there's the moss effects in light, dark and grass. So that's hopefully given you some inspiration for this evening. And hopefully you can have your supper in peace and have a glass of wine or a gin and tonic and think about what you're going to create. So thank you so much for today. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much, Tamara, for giving me the opportunity to be able to go onto her beautiful Memories, Paper and Art group, where we see some beautiful projects, very different to this maybe, but it's also working with paper in a different way. So I hope I've inspired you. Stay safe, be careful, take care and get creating. See you all soon. Bye for now.